নমস্কার সবাইকে নমস্কার the person who's here with me now the person who's here with me now needs no introduction. This is Dr. Sovan Roy, and whose contribution to the world of fountain pens and inks need not be overemphasized or to even talked about. He has contributed so much. He has already written many books. He has researched about the first real fountain pen maker in India who created the first pen with in a mechanized environment in Benares way back in 1905. He has already written about all that, and most of you are aware of that story or that part of our history. So what we suggest, it is a great pleasure to have him with us here today, and I will hand over the mic to Dr. Sovan Roy, request him to talk about fountain pens and inks, especially about the history of Indian fountain pens and inks, how it has come about. But before that, may I request Didi here, because she wanted to pass on a little gift.
Few days back, Chom said me that you will have to come here, say something about the history of the fountain pen in India. And after that he said me that we will have interaction actually, and I will give you some single questions. You prepare the answers, and after that you say all those what questions I will provide you. 5-6 days back. Okay. So I said him, there is no necessity of providing any question or pre-scheduled structure. I do not know everything. If I know, I will say, and if I don't know, I cannot say. There are some group of scientists, researchers, in conference or seminar, if you ask them, and they will try to answer all questions. I have seen in multiple conferences all over the world where I attended once upon a time. Actually, when I joined government, all those things ultimately mitigated. But when I was directly involved in R&D from University of Banaras University, I visited many places, and everywhere I have not found a single scientist or single person or researcher saying that I don't know the answer of this question. Everybody tries to give the answer in any way, although he knows not. So I'm not, and if anyone thinks that I know everything, in my salute to him. I'm in the process of learning. Until the end of my life, I'm in the process of learning. Fountain pen history is a very big history. Fountain pen history of world, and fountain pen history of India is also very big. And the subject has been initiated during 2000, 2010, and before that nobody bothered about the fountain pen history of India. And till now, you all know that fountain pen history of India was initiated in 1900 through Radhika Nath Saha, as I rediscovered him in 2019. Before that, there were many small reports and news regarding Radhika Nath Saha in different newspapers, particularly in Benares, in Hindi newspapers. But those reports were insignificant, and it didn't come out of that domain, of that Banarasi domain. हम लोगों को इन सब लोगों को जो खो गए हैं फिर सामने लाना होगा, इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं हुआ. People didn't know the significance of R.N. Saha in the Indian history of science and technology, particularly in technology, the fountain pen technology, when he practically with Waterman, Parkers, the initiation of Mont Blanc in 2014 or 14, 13, sorry, 1914, 1913. He competed with everybody, and ultimately he didn't have a proper, descendant to carry forward. And he was also a native in colonial India. So the relationship of the British with British government, relationship of Lakshmi style of pen industry, or Radhika Nath Saha with the British government ultimately deteriorated. And when it deteriorated, Indian industry, that glorious history also ultimately faded into oblivion. So these are the things. So you all know about Radhika Nath Saha. I don't think it is the time of Google, it is the time of ChatGPT or etc. and speaking about all those things which are available in Google. You just Google Radhika Nath Saha, will get my book. It will come immediately. It will be can be downloaded from ResearchGate and can be read. It is open to all. So in ChatGPT we will find plenty of things about Radhika Nath Saha. The significant thing is that we forgot everything. He wrote a compendium, Romance of Pen Industries, in 1911, the Romance of Pen Industries, which was published by Baptist Mission Press. And that Romance of Pen Industries was also archived by British Library. It was archived by book archives, and all those things were there. But when we Googled his name, nothing came out. And once I discovered the original book, the hard copy of Radhika Nath Saha's Romance of Pen Industries, published in 1911, at Radhika Nath Saha's descendants' grandson's house. I brought it to the world, and once I brought it to the world, immediately Google started to provide that soft copy from its archives, from British Council Library, everywhere. It was there. It was there, just like Gregor Johann Mendel. Mendelism came after 200 years, that pea plant experiment. You read it in genetics during your school days. Likewise, like penicillium, Alexander Fleming, 10-15 years when during World War, when there was necessity of a medicine which can cure, which can kill bacteria, that antibiotic was discovered 10 years back. But Boss and Lam, they ultimately discovered all those things, those old literature, and all were given Nobel Prize for that. So likewise, all these things were there. Radhika Nath Saha was there, his literature was there, but he faded into oblivion. He was not with us. Nobody of us knew. And one of the greatest contributions with me, the stimulus of this discovery of Radhika Nath Saha was practically given by Apurva Kumar Panda. Apurva Kumar Panda is a great collector, and he had one box of Lakshmi style of pen industries limited, Banaras. And the history is written in the introduction chapter of my book. It is a very interesting history. Incidentally, Radhika Nath Saha's grandson was my cartographer during PhD days. I didn't know. His grandson, Shubhajit Saha, was 10 years elder than me. He is now more than 70. He was a cartographer of my PhD thesis. I didn't know at that time. And I left Benares in 1994. And after 1993 I left Benares, 2003, 2013, 2019. In 2019, from an American patent, I came to know about Radhika Nath Saha. And from there, I started to investigate, and ultimately, that ultimately led me to the house of Shubhajit Saha, which I used to visit during 1980s. when he was my cartographer, and found all those things in his wall. It is written in the book. So the same things, there is no necessity of repetition. The thing is that whether Radhika Nath Saha was the pioneer fountain pen maker of India, he is the father of Indian fountain pen. But whether he is the pioneer, okay, pioneer. But whether he is the first fountain pen maker of India as an artisan, I think he is not. The fountain pen history of India starts from Radhika Nath Saha because in 1900 he had his first patent. But I think by that time many artisans of India copied fountain pens imported from outside and they used to make it in India. One suspect is S.K. Das of Hatkhola, Eagle and independent fountain pen. Probably those were may or may not be imported. And there are so many artisans, there were so many businessmen at that time who made fountain pen. There are more than I think 10 or 15. Nowadays I am in search of them, and 10 or 15 fountain pens all over India during Radhika Nath Saha's time. But what is the main difference? Difference is Saha had 14 patents. Those were true Swadeshi fountain pens, true Indian fountain, not copied from Waterman or Parker or etc. and so were available at that time. So that is their speciality. He was a doctor from Kolkata Medical College, Eden Kolkata Medical College, and he ultimately, his brain flourished towards the technology of fountain pen when he was a medical student. And all is there, all things are there in the Romance of Pen Industries. Romance of Pen Industries, ultimately I have collated the information and brought him to the world. Secondly, in the Avenue of Ink as well, you know the book with Vivek Devray Sahib. Vivek Devray Sahib inked in India with me, and in that book there is no mention of Kishori Mohan Bagchi. There is mention of PM Bagchi. But after that, I discovered that again, while investigating his great-grandson's house, Piyush Bagchi, that the first fountain pen, commercial fountain pen ink maker, industrial rather. So otherwise inks were made BC, before Christ. Okay, and it's going on. From Guha Chitro to this. But the first ink was also made by Kishori Mohan Bagchi in the name of his father. From কি নাম ছিল রাস্তাটা? না রাস্তাটার নাম কি ছিল? দর্জিপাড়া, and after the Gulostagar, and before that their residence in Shobha Bazar. They came from Shantipur, and that Kishori Mohan Bagchi ultimately, in confrontation with his father, PM Bagchi, from the PM Bagchi company, and that made the fountain pen ink. And second one was again Radhika Nath Saha. There is aniline ink at that time, very less dissolving in water. Ultimately aniline derivatives, or many derivatives are there nowadays. So Indian history of fountain pen and ink is still now not properly organized. We know very little about Jagabandhu Datta, and I suspect that Jagabandhu Datta also had marriage relationship with Radhika Nath Saha's daughter. One of the daughters were probably married in the house of Jagabandhu Datta, J.V. Datta. So if you want to work particularly in this field of pen and ink, the history of pen and ink, a very less number of persons are working nowadays, I think, and the organized working is lacking practically. There is no organized working. And I have stopped working. After getting Radhika Nath Saha out, I have stopped working. I have changed my course in different direction. So if till today, Indian history of fountain pen is not well organized. We do not remember, but it again started from Bengal or Bengali. It started from Bengal and it flourished from Bengal. That is the main thing. Anything. I think there is no need of repetition of the same things which are available in the ChatGPT and books online.
You can speak out thinking what we may not do. Those are the things, something.
Okay. Last time at Gold Park Ramakrishna Mission, Vivek Sahib late said about one myth, South Indian myth, okay, that has been shattered by the rediscovery of Radhika Nath Saha. South Indian myth. I am not saying the name of the particular brand, okay, that was the pioneer. And I personally think that is not a myth. He said it myth, but it is not a myth. It was deliberately created. During 2000, 2010, 2005, 2003, if you have searched through information highway, internet, you will find one name, Hari Warrior. Nowadays, I don't know where he is. And actually, my interest in fountain pen collection originated from his writings, Hari Warrior. And from that day, I think when he was very active, along with others in internet, that particular subject was created till today, and that particular house knows the existence of Radhika Nath Saha. That particular house knows the existence of other fountain pen brands from 1900 to 1930. And knowingly, in this particular century, for the promotion of business, the brand from South India was promoted, providing false information. Vivek Sahib said it myth. I am not saying that this is myth. I am saying this is not a myth. It was deliberately created lie. Because a very interesting thing happened while incepting Lakshmi Style Pen Works Limited in Banaras in 1907. Till 1905, all workers were trained in manually, with manual instruments. And in 1906, they thought that no, we will bring more automation. So during initiation of the industry, they started automation. Other machineries they imported. Many machineries Saha made himself with patents. The thing is that during that time, all the trained workers went for a strike, Dharmaghat, and they belonged to a particular faith. In Romance of Pen Industries, Saha is writing that all those workers were belonging to a particular faith, religious faith, and they were dismissed. Immediately they were dismissed because they belonged to a particular faith, religious faith, and they were united. So we started with training of new workers belonging to different faiths, two different faiths, Hindu and Mohammedan. I personally feel that the first group of workers who were trained, who were dismissed after training, they all knew how to make fountain pens because they were already trained by Saha himself in his workshop and they were dismissed. Where did they go? At that time, after getting dismissed, so many workers, it was a big factory during initiation. They were all trained workers. In automation, they had strike, they conducted strike and they were all dismissed, and Saha started with mixed faith workers. The first group of workers came from Awadh and Bundelkhand Railway. They were taken from Awadh and Bundelkhand Railway and they were having particular faith. Now, after Saha initiated with a mixed group of workers in 1907, in 1915 and 16, a particular faith, a group of workers with particular faith initiated another fountain pen factory at Agra, Dayalbagh. That was a cottage industry and that was named Model Industries. And they from Model Industries, they started to produce one fountain pen, handmade fountain pen, manually made, and that's name was Dayalbagh. And surprisingly, the Dayalbagh pen, what Chom has given me with Rahul, that Dayalbagh pen has got the similarity, complete 99% similarity with Saha's pen printed in the box of Apurva Kumar Panda. Only color is different, is black and red, the same model. I personally feel that those Radha Sumani faith who created group of workers who created that particular industry, the model industry at Dayalbagh, those workers migrated to other places as well. And that model industries, if you go through the trademark journal, you will be surprised to discover one thing, that model industries made fountain pens and inks and many other things till 1935, 1940. And 1940, they made one company registration. That was not before that, before that period. From 1916, 1917, they made all those food cottage industrial products. In 1940, they changed into food products. Model industries from the same place, same address. Address was not changed. The same address at Dayalbagh. And among the 4 board of directors, one was the same person who was the director of that pen industry at Rajamundry, when it bifurcated due to the death of their father, who created the industry. Father created the industry and showed a Gandhiji's letter that Gandhiji asked me to create the Pradeshi industry, so I created an industry, reading a book. Probably the book was Romance of Pen Industries. And after his death, there was fighting among his descendants, brother and son, and this divided into 2 parts. And one part was headed by the same person who was, I am not saying name of anybody because it is getting recorded. The same person was among the board of directors of model industries of 1940. It means they had a link, that family had a link with the model industry created in 1915. And that model industry, at least some of the workers, some of the artisans of that model industry came deflected from Saha's first batch of workers. So ultimately, it can be concluded here that manufacturing of fountain pen flourished to South India from North India through Saha, through model industry. And parallelly, in 1932, a Swadeshi directory was discovered by Devrai Sahib, and in that Swadeshi directory it is written that in Lalpur, in Punjab, in Pakistan, there is also another industry parallelly during that time. And I personally feel for that reason that Saha is not the first fountain pen maker of India. He is father of Indian fountain pen because he had 14 patents. He created fountain pen, first industrial fountain pen production in India. But as an artisan, I think there were many fountain pen, handmade fountain pen producers and repairers, because for his first patent he moved to Nilmani Karmakar at Srirampur, who was an artisan, and Nilmani Karmakar converted his patent into a hard copy of fountain pen. He converted his patent into a hard copy of fountain pen. Nilmani Karmakar was. Why did he go to Nilmani Karmakar and not XYZ Karmakar? In Srirampur there was Baptist Mission Press and William Carey's Press. Education was flourishing. There were fountain pens, and those were getting imported from Europe by the missionaries. So when there were instruments, and instruments will malfunction and artisans will come. So already there were artisans who can repair pen, who can make pen during that time in India, at Srirampur, Hooghly, and in this particular region. So as an artisan, I think replicated fountain pens were there in India prior to Saha. That is the thing.
And my first compliment goes to John, because I have always been a user of fountain pen, but didn't know that there was so much of history in it. Now, having talked to you over a period of time, and to Vivek as well, and to John, I noticed three distinct trends. One is the innovation part of it, which is purely technical. And the other part is the historical reaction, in which obviously Gandhiji has a huge place. Because whenever we talk about fountain pen, and I have heard it from you, I'm no historian of fountain pens per se, but whenever I have talked to you, Vivek or John, be it Sulekha or any other place, I find a reference to Gandhiji. And then on the side, of course, Radhika Nath Saha. The third point is that since it was a reaction, it has to have, and it did have, a socio-political and economic content in the whole thing, as you have been talking about. What is amazing, I mean, my question is very simple. You said that you have given up working on fountain pens in the sense of being a researcher of fountain pens, which is quite sad, because you are a repository of knowledge. And when a repository of knowledge divorces himself from the task and from the huge degree of information that he has built, then it is quite sad. My point, therefore, is that I think, given the current situation and whatever that has been happening, it's time that someone started working through the materials that you, Vivek, and others have so assiduously built up, to look into the socio-political and economic implication the narrative that the evolution of fountain pen industry traces. So, what is your opinion on that? I mean, we have talked about Guptu, we have talked about, all these people, ink making, pen making, and there is enough evidence, enough information. But I think what is lacking is a socio-political, economic interpretation of the entire dynamics of fountain making. And I have been hinting on that ever since I came in and you have been talking about it. So what is your opinion? To redirect the question, why actually have you stopped working on it since you are the repository of knowledge? Point number 2, I think it's time we started working on the historical aspect, the socio-political and economic narrative that the evolution of fountain pen industry describes.
First of all, if you say about research, throughout my life, I have gone through a number of changes as far as subject and topics are concerned. I started with ecology, and I was very near to hit Nature, the journal Nature. But it was my bad luck that parallel another person was working in America, R.B. Jackson. On the same subject, I was in vivo, in vitro, I was working in nature, in the forest, and he was working in the laboratory on the same subject. And he first made the paper before me, 3 months before me, and then gave it to Nature and it was published. So my sir called me, that up kar nahi paaye. So publishing one line in Nature is a lifetime achievement for any scientist. So from ecology, ultimately I moved to biotechnology, I moved to agriculture, many aspects. And my becoming a historian of fountain pen, a researcher in the history of fountain pen is just incidental. In fact, I was not also a very serious fountain pen collector, because as far as financial stature, it was not very much possible for me to buy costly pens during my school days, and also before I got the government service. So it was not possible for me, the family background from where I have come. So I was not a very serious fountain pen collector, but I was a fountain pen user. Till writing my PhD thesis, I used fountain pen. And that was maximum, the most costly was unsung of China. 10 rupees during our time. 10 rupees during our time, and when I did my PhD in Banaras University, it was 20 rupees. I do not know what is the price now. It is available nowadays. Unsung and hero. Okay. So I changed my subject of research multiple times. And once in fountain pen history, incidentally or accidentally, I killed the mice at the beginning. I am not getting any more interest. Had I have not discovered Radhika Nath Saha and pushing Indian history of fountain pen 30 years back, from 1930s to 1900, maybe I would have continued. But nowadays I am not getting much interest, and that is the main thing. And if you do not have much interest, you cannot do much thing, because I have interest diverted in different other fields. One is Shekhar subject, philately on Rabindranath Tagore. Shekhar doesn't know it. Doesn't know it. Actually, from my childhood, I was collector of postage and stationeries on Tagore only on Tagore. And it has matured to up to 50 years now. And probably I do have a collection which I have not shown to anybody till today, and which is not available with anybody till today. I am sure all over India and all over the world, because I started it in school days and till now it is continuing. And I moved around the world. I got FDC of Russia, which is not available. I have got FDC of many countries which is not available, not seen by many till today. I have moved around and I have now diverted my interest towards Tagore-based philately. I will not say philately, I will say there are documentation of postage. Philately is a different subject, it is a hardcore subject. Okay, it has got some definitions or some demarcations, higher and level, upper and lower limits of strict definitions. And outside that you cannot say philately. I will not say philately. Documentation in postage on time. That I started 45 and 50 years back, and now I am going to document that probably. So, and making one particularly this Anandamohan Chakraborty, you know, but the great biotechnologist, the first man to produce the genetically modified organism, he also was denied Nobel Prize. Anand Babu died, and I am the only person who did all videography on him, and he has given me, before his death, he provided me written permission to release the documentation on him. I am going to release the document within 2, 3, 4 months on Anandamohan Chakraborty. So my interest has diverted to different subjects, and that is the main reason of leaving particular research on fountain. That is it. Second, yes, there are socio-economic aspects. You have said about book tours. But here, I think people are more interested on Guptu than Saha. In Calcutta I have seen. I get plenty of phones nowadays even. A few days back, I am working on FN Guptu. I am working on FN Guptu. Just few days back. What chapters you do have in your Radhika Nath Saha book? Is there anything on FN Guptu? FN Guptu, I think, has got some
Affinity.
Affinity. I mean, Bengalis, Calcuttans have affinity towards FN Guptu. Surprising, this is also very surprising thing. The story of South India was created or manufactured in such a way, FN Guptu was completely eliminated. Although FN Guptu created fountain pen before that particular body, completely eliminated. And I have written in the last chapter of my book, which Vivek Debraj Sahib said it during his lecture, that FN Guptu made it during 1925 to 1930. You will find 3 types of FN Guptu pens. I am not going to say you the history. Just many of you have got FN Guptu pen and collect FN Guptu pen, love to collect FN Guptu pen because they were elite pens. Saha didn't have much elite pens, gold pens. Those pens, Saha was public pen. Saha used to create public pen, people's pen. But FN Guptu created elite pens. And many of you have collected FN Guptu pens. Chom has got it. You will get 3 types of FN Guptu pen. And seeing the write-up on the body, barrel, you can determine its age. You can determine its age when it is made. Because FN Guptu has got 4 phases. In 1903, the company was registered. In 1905, FN Guptu started to produce pen holders and started to import pen nibs, what used to be called as pen nibs, holders, all those things. In 1911, he started to produce his own pens, deep pens, nibs, holders, but he also imported he also imported fountain pens. And on those fountain pens, it was written Guptu's perfection. F.N. Guptu, company name, Guptun perfection, F.N. Guptan company, Kolkata, Calcutta. In 1925, you will find a pen where his name is embossed. Rai Bahadur F.N. Guptu. And hopefully, probably, this was the first pen made in his company. 1925. And during F.N. Guptu's time, you will find imported pens, and nowhere it is written made in India, made by F.N. Guptu, etc. and etc. It is only written Guptu's perfection, F.N. Guptu and Company, Kolkata, Calcutta. All those pens were imported pens. From 1925 to 1933, he died in 1933, probably. 1933 or 1934. 1933, tomorrow is R.N. Shaha's birthday, 21st June. Radhika Nath Saha's birthday. So, he died in 1933 or 1934, and till that short period of time, means indigenization of the production of fountain pen in Calcutta at that time. 8 to 9 years. Pens are very less, and those pens are, on those pens are written made by F.N. Guptu. Guptu's perfection is there, but made by F.N. Guptu. When there is written made by F.N. Guptu, just know that it has been produced in Calcutta during his lifetime. After that, his eldest son continued production of F.N. Guptu's fountain pen, Guptu's perfection from Calcutta. And during that time, it was written made in India, not made by F.N. Guptu. So if you find any pen of F.N. Guptu written made by F.N. Guptu, know that it is made in India, it is made in Calcutta, it is Swadeshi, and it was made in F.N. Guptu's during F.N. Guptu's lifetime. And if it is written made in India, the same model, the same name, Guptu's perfection. If it is made in India, know that it is after 1934, F.N. Guptu's death. His son never wrote made by F.N. Guptu, made in India. And prior to that, Guptu's perfection, F.N. Gupta Company, Calcutta, those were imported. So there are 3 phases of fountain pen, 3 groups of fountain pen of F.N. Guptu for the collectors. F.N. Guptu's fountain pen was again tried for revival in 1961 and 1963-64. In trademark, I have seen that they have revised 1971 as well. Their descendants have again re-registered from the same address. But there was no fountain pen in that registration. Registration trademark 16 is meant for fountain pens. It was not trademark 16, computer peripherals and etc. Pencils, etc. So F.N. Guptu pencils were produced in 1970s as well, 1980s as well. F.N. Guptu pencils were produced, but F.N. Guptu fountain pens were not.